Hope you're all excited for today's session, and definitely it's going to be a wonderful session because it's all about the power of questioning. So let us see the power which is hidden in the process of questioning, which is going to be, shared by our own and the lovely and very active Pushpalata ma'am. So I would not like to take much more time. Let us get into the session directly.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. The screen is all yours, Pushpalata ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Can I take on the host, or you'll be moving the slides yourself?
No issues, ma'am. I'll make you the host. You're the host now.
So is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and I'm Pushpata Thakur Chaudhary, and today I will take on a session on the power of strategic questioning. And before I begin, I would like to ask if I'm audible to everyone. Can you please unmute yourself and reply to me? So am I audible to you?
You are very much audible to me, ma'am. You have to engage your participants. I don't know why
Okay,
they're
sir.
not
I
responding.
then nobody replied to
Yes,
me.
ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, Harpreet ma'am, thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to begin my session right now. My session today is on the power of strategic questioning, and I hope my screen is visible to you. Okay, so this is my topic. Before I start, thank you for joining my session today. And my topic is the power of strategic questioning, exploring how effective questioning techniques enhance critical thinking and engagement in learning. So, our agenda for the day is I will be introducing the topic to you, the introduction, questioning techniques, strategic questions, Bloom taxonomy, the relevance, and analyzing the impact of questioning. And we will also be having interaction in between and also at the end. So, our netiquette expectations, as usual, please keep your cameras on if you can. I would be very, very grateful. And please keep your microphones muted and do participate actively. I'll be very thankful for that. And be polite and respectful as we move on from here. Okay. Before I start, this is a very, very famous quote by Voltaire, and he says, "Judge a man by his questions rather than his answers." So before I start, here is an activity which I would like all of you to please indulge in and interact with each other. I have three situations here where I would like you to understand these things. How many times have you entered your classroom and you have interacted with your students? And in the first, can I have Pushpa ma'am? I can see your video on. Can you read the first question for us, please? Please read the first situation if you can. Harpreet ma'am, can we begin with you if you're able to see it? Okay,
Can I read?
yes, ma'am, please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Students are not able to answer questions even after explaining multiple times. Students are not able to frame questions in the classroom. Students complain that even after learning everything, they do not understand questions during the exams.
Does any of you face this situation? Does
All the
any,
time. All the time.
okay, would you like to share something about it? Do you, which situation do you relate to more, ma'am? The first one, the second one, or the third one?
The third one, like most of the time, it is the third one. When students, you have explained everything to them, they have done a lot of revision, but then at the last moment, they say that they have cold feet. Ma'am, I'm trying to switch on my video, but somehow it is not working.
Tanuja, ma'am, thank you so much. It's all right as long as you're participating actively. Yes, Harpreet, ma'am, would you like to add to
Maybe
that?
the reason could be, yeah, maybe the reason could be like if we change the language or the pattern of the question, that is also one of the cause of, questions during exam days.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone else would like to add anything? Punita, ma'am, would you like to say anything on that?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, maybe the students do not have proper command over the English language. That is why they
Absolutely.
don't understand the question.
That can also be a reason. So, anybody else has a view on that? Absolutely, we all go through these situations where we have with children who we have taught them multiple times, that we have gone through everything over and over and again, and still they are not able to answer our questions. So, sorry. Okay, so what do you do in such
Ma'am,
situations? Yes,
they are
ma'am.
unable, students are unable to mold their answers according to the question.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. So, what do you do in such situations when they are just giving you a blank stare? What would you like to do? What is your strategy? How do you tackle it?
According to new education policy, we have to be bilingual.
Okay, ma'am. Absolutely.
That would be a reason. Yes, and the language can be easier according to the age or the understanding of the student.
Absolutely, ma'am. Anyone else? Perhaps you have a solution there where you think maybe probably the problem is the language in which we are interacting with our students. So excellent. That's a good way. So this is where the art of strategic art of questioning steps in. This is why we need to go on and hone our children in the art of questioning. Right. So there is a quote first which I would like you to see. The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute, and the man who does not ask is a fool for life. This is a famous quote by Confucius, where he says, where he is, stressing on the need of questioning by all of us. And I don't know about you people, but there are many times where I would just sit back and I would not ask the question because I would feel maybe it looks very silly if I would ask this certain question. And now that I've become a teacher, I realize that I should have asked those questions. And but all throughout my life as a student, I think there have been times where I've been just sat back and huddled down, and not to ask the teacher anymore, even if they've been asking me, please, is there anything you would like to ask? So when I read this, I really felt like that fool for a life. If that I should have asked those questions, which I didn't. Okay, so before we start, I would like to uh, add what are questions. The questions, they are a fundamental part of our life, and they help teachers to understand uh, how much our students have understood.
Sorry to interrupt, Pushpalata ma'am. I'll be not available for the next 5-10 minutes.
Okay, no problem, sir. No problem, sir. So, in our educational journey, questions play a very important part. For a teacher, I think there is nothing, for us who are taking assessments and things like that. I think question plays a very important part in our lives and how we move forward with our curriculum. So, this is helping our teachers to gauge our understanding, stimulate critical thinking, and encourage active participation in our classes. Am I right with that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so next what is questioning? Now, questioning is an interrogative process where we are trying to stimulate a response by giving some kind of, a trigger point or some kind of sentence where we want them to, think about it, give their response on it, and we are allowing the individual to use her cognition skills so that they can produce information based on the question asked. So this has been given by Cotton in 1988. What does it involve? Now, questioning involves employing a series of questions to explore an issue, an idea, or something intriguing. So, questioning, it's like a process. It is like wielding out, and it's wielding out a person, giving them questions so that we can develop an answer and an insight into what has been told to us and whatever topic we are trying to cover. Okay. So, what is it about asking question? Why is it important? So, asking questions is no means, it's not original. It's not it's not something unique. It's not something original, or it's not something which has just started. Because as you know, if human beings had not questioned, we would not have evolved to the place in the animal kingdom where the place which we hold today. All right. So, and even when we go back to Socrates, Aristotle, we consider Socrates as the, already merry man. He used to always keep pestering his fellow students, he went on asking them intelligent questions. So, as we know, Socrates was in Athens, and they are considered as one of the earliest teachers, and whose way of teaching we still are following in our education system today, and rarely content with what he was told. He was never content with his teachers, with his students. He would always go on indulging in prodding them and asking them more and more questions so that he could enlighten them. And it was a very annoying way of going forward, because if somebody keeps on prodding us, it becomes very annoying. But that was a great way of inducing insight into it. Okay, so here I would like you to see this video.
Of debate, not by arguing, but by asking questions. His secret weapon, the Socratic method. Instead of clashing head on, he'd start with a simple question like, what is justice? Then he'd go deeper, asking follow-up questions that made his opponents rethink their beliefs. For Socrates, winning wasn't about out-talking others. It was about seeking truth and challenging people to think deeply. His questions revealed contradictions and forced clarity. This often led his opponents to realize they didn't know as much as they thought, what Socrates called intellectual humility. But the Socratic method isn't just for debating others, it's also a tool for self-reflection. By questioning your own beliefs, you can spot weak points in your thinking and become a sharper, more critical thinker. So next time you're in a debate, don't just argue. Ask questions that make the other person examine their stance. Often the truth lies in what we don't know.
So I hope this was the Socratic method. And I have followed the research which has been conducted by David Hopkins and John Hattie. They have extensively studied students' reactions and different categories of things which they have placed. Like I've already said, they have studied around 252 categories of where student learning is affected, and they have highlighted that questioning plays a excuse me. They have said that questioning plays a large part in our classrooms, and it is the second most utilized teaching strategy behind teacher talk. Teacher talk comes first, and the questioning comes at number 2. So this is a very, very important strategy in our classrooms. And this has been researched by David Hopkins and John Hattie. So there is a quote which you need to see, that the quote says, there are naive questions, tedious questions, ill-phrased questions, but every question is a cry to understand. There is no such thing as a dumb question. It was given by Carl Edward Sagan. All of you who know who have read his books, Carl Edward Sagan was an American astronomer and a planetary scientist. At one time, he held a top position in one of the scientists of the world, and he has given his research into extraterrestrial beings, etc. So he was the one who really initiated, he really believed that questioning was a very, very important task in our lives. So strategy, we are talking about here questioning strategy. So questioning strategy is a powerful instructional strategy that can enhance critical thinking, engagement, and learning outcomes. This is told by Hopkins and Fullan in their book in 2002. And by asking the right questions, educators can encourage students to think deeply, make connections, and develop a deeper understanding of the matter. Okay. So here there are the types of strategic questions, and I think most of you must be already using them. We have the open-ended questions, the probing questions, the reflective questions, the Socratic questions, like we just discovered, and they are essential questions. So we will go ahead and talk about these kind of questions in our further slides. And I know that most of you are already using them. So research also tells us that questioning has a very big and a positive impact on student learning. And whenever you are using questioning, it is, a signature of your outstanding pedagogical practice. And your questions can be used as various stages of your teaching in the classrooms. And these are again, the questions which we discussed, that they can be open-ended, they can be closed-ended, they can be leading questions or probing questions, they can be reflective questions in your classrooms, they can be Socratic and essential questions. I hope this it's clear till here. And what happens when you use these kind of questioning? It increases the question. It promotes critical thinking in children. It encourages analysis and evaluation, fosters creativity, because you start utilizing, these open-ended questions. The educators can inspire creativity, encouraging the students to think and answer about different things, about giving innovative solutions. And then you can develop problem solving and these skills. This was also said by Polya in 1945, and it also um, promotes metacognition and self reflection. Metacognition is a very big thing in 21st century skills, and this is increased by the art of questioning. Okay, so here is a video which I would like you to see, please.
Key to knowledge, acting as a bridge between ignorance and understanding. The art of questioning encourages critical thinking and sparks curiosity. By asking open-ended questions, we invite deeper conversations and insights. This skill is not just for scholars. It's vital in everyday life, fostering better relationships and problem-solving abilities. The best questions often challenge assumptions and prompt reflection. Think about how many breakthroughs have come from simply asking why or how. Cultivating this art can lead to richer experiences and a more profound grasp of the world around us. Embrace questioning to expand your horizons.
So it's very important to embrace questioning. You are broadening your horizons. You are increasing their imagination in life, and you are increasing that wonder of learning in the children. So the Bloom taxonomy plays a very critical part in the kind of questions you are preparing. So what happens whenever you enter whenever you enter your classroom? Can anybody tell me, how do you enter your classroom and engage your children suddenly in listening to you, and getting back to the questions what you're doing, and getting back to the topic which you want to do? Do you have a hook question? Does any of you use a hook question in your classes? Do you use a warm-up session where you are judging your children by prior learning through asking them a question about the topic which you are going to introduce the same day?
Yes, ma'am, surely. We try to take the recapitulation of the previous task done and give a warm-up session. And again, there are those, like you said, hookup questions or this questions based on the previous task, so that they get into the temperament of learning further.
Very good. Thank you so much, ma'am. The research already says that we are 80% of the questions, we are asking 80% questions in our classrooms. And out of those questions, you have to realize that every time you enter your classroom, your questions should be very structured. You should have a list of questions in front of you, which you have already structured to the amount, the time, the topic which you are about to study. And your questions should be structured in such a way that they should follow this Bloom taxonomy. And we all know that Bloom classifies into 6 categories, like you can see in front of you. And it starts from knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And every teacher's task is to begin your child or take your child from knowledge to the synthesis part. All right. So evaluation is a part which will come at the end, but we keep evaluating our children through these little questions which we keep answering, which we keep expecting them to answer, which we keep wanting them to enter into conversation with. All right. So we have to move forward with our knowledge, comprehension, application, and we have to make sure that each and every question which we ask follows this particular progression. So the Bloom's taxonomy of critical thinking, it follows knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. So all of the teachers should always know that there are these STEM questions which you need to understand. So as you can see in front of you, for question stems, when you want to understand, when you want to recall the knowledge questions, your previous knowledge questions, then the STEM questions which you will use are the ones under the knowledge section, which will say, can you recall, can you list, who was, where is. So these are very basic questions, and they will tell you about the standing of your student at the place where they are. And then we come on to the comprehension questions, where they will move on to the constructing meanings, all right, of the text in order to demonstrate that they have understood what you have taught them. So like then we ask them questions like, what is the main idea, what might happen next, how can you retell something, can you tell it in your own words, what are the ideas, and what would you summarize it as. So these are at the very comprehension level. Then we move on, and how would you use certain thing. Then we are moving on to the application level. So we have to use these stems in our classrooms. They always have to be ready, and our questions should progress from the knowledge to evaluation to synthesis on these stems, because then we ask a lot of questions in our classrooms, but not all the times are those questions intelligent. Not all the time are they following a path of application, analysis, synthesis. Not all the time are we challenging our students. So we have to always remember that whatever we are doing in our classroom, it has to progress, so that the child's thinking is moves in a progression, and he is always and ever, he's on innovating in his mind. His cognitive skills are running from one to the next, and he's trying to build up answers for this. Then we move on to the analysis level, and our question stems to change. What do you think? How can you compare this? What evidence can you find? What is the theme? All these comes in the place where analysis is stepping in. All right. And then we move on to the synthesis level, and it is a greater level. A little more challenges entered here. Now we are combining informations and ideas. Here you can see that you can make children collaborate in class and make them find these synthesis answers to these synthesis questions. And you will end up seeing that children are very creative in their answers and very original. You would have never thought, oh my God, I had never thought this child could come up with such an answer. Because sometimes children are so bored that they don't want to enter into conversation with the teacher. Sometimes they've already studied, sometimes they've studied in the tuitions. They don't want to learn the content. They can always go and learn the content. What they want is to be challenged on what they already know and how they can take it forward. And when our students are challenged in classrooms, that is where they evolve, and that is where your teaching and your concept becomes clearer to them. So what synthesis level, what changes would you like to find? How would you improve such a thing? What would you do if you were in this situation? And can you predict the outcome of this? And can you construct another model of this? So we can move on from these levels and move forward. And then we can also have the evaluation level. Let me tell you that evaluation level can go on in every period. At the end of the period, between the period, your formative assessment continues every day. In every period, you have to continue and you have to keep asking evaluative questions. But your evaluation should always move in progression. And your evaluation should always be adaptable. Like ma'am said, that some of the children will not understand in English. You might have the right stems, you might have the right question, but you might not be asking the right child in the class. So what you really have to do is, thank you, Pasna ma'am, Harpreet ma'am, Tanuja ma'am, please thank you for switching on your videos. It is very encouraging. So what you might be doing in the classroom is right, but maybe you're not adapting it to your students. So make sure that your stems might be right, your content might be right, but maybe you're not right asking the right child in the class or in the right way to the child. So your evaluation actually depends a lot on how you ask the question and how you evaluate your child. And there will be a different evaluation process for every child you're teaching in the class, because you have to gauge what is the level of the child and how far you have brought the child up in this level of the Bloom's taxonomy, which really makes a lot of difference. Thank you, John sir, for switching on your video. All right, so we move forward from here. I hope the Bloom's taxonomy is clear to you. Okay, I have a wonderful video for you. Please listen to it, and then I might stop in between to talk about something. Sorry.
Formulating better questions, and how to apply questioning in our lives. Ideas inspired by the book A More Beautiful Question by Warren Berger. So, why did we used to ask so many questions at the age of 4? And why suddenly, as we grow up, we become less curious and stop asking questions? One reason can be that our school system emphasizes on discipline and memorization, which leaves us little space to ask questions. And by the time we become adult, most of us have lost our ability to ask effective questions. The importance of questioning. We live in a world where asking naive questions starting with why can be seen as foolish or disrespectful. For this reason, people try to convince themselves that they know, and often they overestimate their knowledge or become less curious about new ideas or new possibilities. Whether you're in business, at school, or working for an organization, asking questions has proven to spark breakthrough ideas and inspire innovations. And asking a sequence of questions as we look for an answer have the power to reveal more than what we were looking for. And it also allows us to break free from familiar thought patterns or assumptions, which opens the gate to our imaginations. As we know, not all questions are made equal. The author defines a beautiful question as an ambitious yet actionable question that begins to shift the way we perceive or think about something, and that might serve as a catalyst to bring about change. Formulate more beautiful questions by using why not, what if, and how. By asking why, we step back before moving forward because it helps us identify the problem. It might sound childish, but a good trick is to ask 5 consecutive why, get to the bottom of a complex issue. We can also use why not to challenge the status quo and force ourselves to rethink the way things are done, and that can lead to great innovations. Just like how Polaroid came alive when a little girl asked her dad, why doesn't the camera spit out the picture right after it's taken? To find solutions, start by asking what-if questions. It allows us to think about ideas that are sometimes very strange or completely false. But the beauty of it is that it welcomes ideas that are outside the box. What if also involves the ability to combine ideas? We can see it as a mix and match happening in our mind. New ideas doesn't have to be totally original. Most of the time, they involve connecting existing one in a creative and useful way. Next time, instead of brainstorming, try question storming. Identify the problem with why and use what if before each statement. The last and probably the hardest question is asking how. Tons of ideas has been generated on that what if stage. And to start working on the solution, you have to start narrowing it down. So take action on a couple of ideas and try them out. Try to converge towards the one deemed worthy. One of the best ways to share an idea is to test it out visually. Building prototypes and 3D modeling are all great ways to share our vision. For example, if I were to build a new toy for kids, I'd probably sketch it out, then write down all the materials needed on the paper. And finally, show it to some friends to look at their reactions. Let's put it into practice. So here are examples of questions you can ask in business. Why are we in business? What if our company...
So these are the questions, and it says, it was already saying that all the ideas in the world and answers in the world are already floating around. The ideas are already floating around. What we really need to do by questioning is bring them together and make a new thing out of that idea. And that is what we need to do in our classrooms. Our children they already have a lot of ideas. They already know a lot about those subjects, because we are teaching the same topics every year with a different force, with a different concentration, with a different level up. So they already know little about those things. But if we can join those ideas together with our questioning, with our whys, with our what ifs, with our hows, and we can generate a good new idea in the children, I think there'll be nothing like questioning like that. And we have to their assumptions, we have to change their assumptions, we have to challenge their assumptions, we have to make them create new ideas in their minds. And that can only be done by our questioning. And until and unless our questioning are structured, until and unless we are putting great questions, we are never going to get great answers. So if your child is a great, if you're a good, if you're a teacher who has great questions, you will be a teacher who will be having great answers in your classes. You will be structuring those answers without your children ever knowing that you have induced those ideas into their minds through your questioning. So we reach to the level of Socrates there. So here are the types of questions which I was talking about. And the types of questions are the open-ended questions. We also have some sample here. What happened in a open-ended? First, I think we should discuss about the closed-ended questions. These are the questions which are very direct and have a yes or no answer. Or they might be having, like we give our MCQs, multiple choice questions, which has only, only one answer is correct, or a one word answer, which would be like, we have a question here, what is the capital of India? That will have only one answer. So we can start with closed-ended questions, which will give the children a little more confidence of getting into questioning. And from there, we can open up into open-ended questions, which will encourage their critical thinking and exploration. And then you can change your word stems, When the moment you change your stems from what to what do you think, your question changes. The level of your question changes. And Savita ma'am, do you have a question? Okay, thank you. All right. So how do you feel about it? Can you describe this? The moment you change your stems, your question changes from a level of closed-ended question to a level of open-ended questions, and it makes all the connection or the gray matter in your children's mind start working in a different way. So there are also strategies which you already must be applying, and there is Jonathan Sandling. He says a very nice, I don't know, you people must be already doing that strategy in your classes, is pose, pause, pounce and bounce. Have you heard about this strategy? Where you pose a question, okay, that is your first, then you pause. Pause is I will talk about pause. Pause is a very important part of a questioning. If you don't pause, if you don't give a think time to your students, you will never get a good answer. So your pausing is very important. And then pounce. The moment you see that a certain child is ready with the answer, has his hand up, you can pounce on that student and ask the child to answer. And then once the student has answered, then comes our bounce stage. Then you can also bounce the same question to a different child, and you can ask them, what do you think about their answer? Or you can tell the child to elaborate on what the child has already said, or you can tell the child to give their own answer. So this is the strategy. It is called pose, pause, pause, pose, pause, pounce, and bounce. So in this, you can do it in your class, and you will see that you will be, suddenly you will be threading a lot of children together with the same question posed in a different way. All right. And I'll also tell you about more strategies as I come along. I hope this has been open-ended, closed-ended. Then you have evaluation questions that require judgment or making choices. Is the Prime Minister doing a good job of representing Indian interest outside of India? So here a little evaluative question where you can give the children some certain bigger stems to think about and on which they can reflect and talk. And let me tell you that one of the greatest work of collaboration which arises is from good collaboration. From your good collaboration arises is from questioning. When you give certain children questioning and you pair them together, you put them in groups and you tell them to find an answer, you will see that the children come up with great answers. and answers which you would really not think about yourself sometimes, that your children have that level of going. But always remember that your question should be adapted according to the class you're teaching and the kind of audience or the children you have. Sometimes if you're living in the interiors or the exteriors of the place where children are not from a, they come from first generation learners and all, your questions can stem a little different. And like ma'am said, we can ask them in their local language, because they might be having the idea, but sometimes they do not have the voice to speak. Sometimes they are restricted by the language they speak. But in the 21st century skills, I think it's more important to know your content better than your language, which actually becomes better with time and nurturing from the teachers. So then we have the rhetorical questions. So rhetorical questions are the questions which can have more than one answer. And sometimes when you give a rhetorical question in your class, it is just a question to start a thinking process in their mind. That is the question. You're not asking for a answer for that. So example, you can see a question here. How can we expect to achieve peace if we can't even be peaceful in the classroom? If you throw a certain rhetorical question like that, कि आपसे क्लास में तो चुप बैठा नहीं जाता, आप देश को क्या चलाओगे, something like that. So you are, poking them with your questions, and then it gives them a think time. Why did ma'am say certain thing, such a thing to us? So these are rhetorical questions which we do use in our classrooms, but they also engage our students in thinking process and moving forward. All right. So let's have a video here. Please look at it.
If it's okay with you, we'll start with the first quote. What was your conversation like with your partner? Austin,
like the first one is kind of like deeper than the other one. It's saying that's like coming from the heart, so it like affects, and it's like saying more than the other one.
Okay. Can you continue that conversation with your peers for me, Austin?
Does anyone have any other idea? Keegan?
I was thinking as in like your heart controls your body, so you can have words control you too. As in you can use so powerful words that it almost like controls your body. Like it can control someone else's like emotions.
Interesting.
Does anyone else have another thought? Maddie?
I agree with Keegan because the heart is very powerful, and just like words can describe anything powerful, and they can describe things in a more serious way that mean more to us.
Now, I have a question. From what I'm hearing so far, I'm getting the sense that you feel this first quote has a positive view of language.
Yeah.
I'm getting that sense from your conversations. Can we switch to the second quote? I want to hear your second quote in relation to language. What is this person trying to tell us about language? Tyler, can you start our conversation?
How you talk, if it's corrupting it, it's kind of like stopping you from breathing. Because like then you can't really communicate with others.
Okay. Can you continue the
Does
conversation?
anybody else have another thought?
Lily?
Okay. I hope you were able to understand this. Did you understand my strategy here? Did you see the poser question? Pause from the teacher. Did you see her pounce on the student to start speaking? And did you see the children in the same class bouncing the questions to each other? Plus, do you also observe anything else in this classroom setting? Anybody?
Answer. Okay. Can I answer?
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
The classroom is a very informal kind of a classroom with like circular, not like our
regular
teacher one place. It's more of a discussion classroom, round table.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very good observation. And what do you observe about the teacher in this classroom? Anybody else wants to answer? John sir, Harpreet ma'am, Upasna ma'am. What do you observe about the teacher in this classroom? Do you think they're leading the children or they're just facilitating them?
She is deducing from your answers, from
She's
their
deducing,
answers.
absolutely. She's deducing from them answers. She's just leading them on, and she is not guiding them to do this, do this, do that. She is just letting them let their conversation lead the topic ahead. So this is the kind of 21st century classroom which we are thinking about. This is the kind of classroom where we feel that we want all our children to feel equal. All of them have equal opportunities, and they can decide on whom they want to bounce their question to. It is not the teacher who decides who will speak, who will not speak. She's just giving a chance to one. The rest of the children can go on deciding among themselves of how they want to move forward. So this is a very classic case of pounce and bounce. So also I would like to add here that pausing is a very important thing. Every time a teacher poses a question, uh, you have to wait for around 3.6 seconds before asking anyone to ask you give an answer. So that is a really big think time for the children, and a lot of children are able to give their answers in that thing. And rest, when you are switching from one child to the other, give another 1 second, 1.1 second or something like that for the children to think about it. And this is a think time, pause time is very important in our questioning. It plays a very important part. As I keep going forward, I hope this has been sorry. All right. So then is our probing questions. It is very important to know what are probing questions, because we might ask a child from the basic Bloom's taxonomy to give us a definition, to give us some comparison, and then we have to go on, asking more and more questions, just like our Socrates, so that a child goes on thinking and linking it to some other information which he has in his mind. So he can critically think, he can analyze, and put them together and create something new. Right. So the purpose of these probing questions is that we go on, asking them questions, so they keep getting, gaining deeper insight. And sometimes it's not only the student who's gaining insight into the topic, it is the student also who the teacher also is gaining insight into the topic. And the teacher, even if it doesn't tell the student, they know I have to go home and find out this particular aspect of this question, because I really don't know what was there. And sometimes the children are able to give you more insights into your own topic. So it makes us a better learner with our own students when they are critical thinkers. Yes. And we move on from there, encourages deeper thought and important exploring their essential credibility, their responses, they are asking, they are telling, they are helping each other, they are validating facts. So people are responding and they're saying, no, this is right, this is wrong. So it creates a very dynamic kind of atmosphere in the classroom. And even you people can go ahead, you can create your classroom, you can make your children sit in a circular manner, and you can make sure that, please just a minute, sorry, my battery was going to go off. Okay, so you can also make your children sit in circular manner. You can take a discussion panel and take only a set of children, put them in a circle, make them discuss, let the other observe, put up questions, so the questioning can really go ahead in that manner. All right, so let me move forward. So we've already talked about probing questions here. Can you elaborate on what you're saying? How did you arrive at this situation, this conclusion? What other conclusion can you give? What other ending of of the story, of the picture, of the movie, of the play would you think can be there? And can you justify why this particular ending was given to it? So these also probing questions also lead to reflecting questions. So you can say, what have you learned from all this? How can you apply this to your thinking, to your mannerism, about your interaction with others, and how does it relate to your experiences in life? So they can parallelly go and relate it to other things, and this really catches on with children, because the most easiest thing is to relate to your own experience. And what are we talking about is that experiential learning, right? And I think there is nothing better than experiential learning. Then questioning makes out that it takes out, brings out those little experiences in your lives, and when you connect your experiences to questions, you are able to give better answers. So also we have memory recall questions, convergent question, divergent questions, which can stem from one answer to more answers where you can, relate them to others. For example, how did the building of a coast railroad affect the economical, political development? These are, I think, all for higher classes. Then divergent questions could be, questions that require lateral thinking and consideration of various possibilities for the same question. All right. So and memory and recall questions are also used at the very hook level where I called you about, that we can just enter the class and ask them about their previous knowledge and things like that. Also, one of these very important aspects is the funnel questions which we ask. When we want our children to start from broader aspect and move on to the question or to the answer which we want them to ask, we move on to these funnel questions. And let me tell you one thing, that the funnel questions can be an inverted funnel, and a funnel question can be a straight up funnel. Okay, so that is where your convergent questions and your divergent questions come in and you make. And let me tell you that whenever we are making our question papers, we start with the closed ended questions, because all our questions, will you realize that your initial questions in your question paper are all multiple choice questions. Do you realize that we have short questions in the beginning, and then it moves on to the broader questions with a 5-mark question, 2 marks question, 3 marks. So we are funneling them out there, and from less creative to more creative, we are giving our children a chance to go from less creative to more creative questions. So that is why a question which is totally objective is not a very good question, and a paper which is totally subjective is not a very good question. Not a very good paper. So we have to realize that we have to do the questioning not only while asking in the classroom or in the classroom scenario, but also when we are setting our assessments and we are setting our papers. So then we have a reflective question. We have already talked about them. What do? They encourage reflection, they promote self-awareness, they tell you that then we identify what kind of strength we had, what was our weakness on this certain topic, why were we not able to answer here, what more could I have added if I had studied the topic. So this gives us, this facilitates personal growth in a person. When you're reflective, you learn. There's no learning better than a reflective learning, because then when you know your own weakness and you know your own strengths, you are a better person, you are a better learner. And then experiential learning becomes all the more stronger, like I talked about. Okay, it enhances our ability to apply any knowledge which we have had anywhere related to that subject and apply it to the answer which we are giving. So as we already know that, so what does the teacher actually want? So the teacher actually wants, John sir, can you read what is on the screen?
Why teachers want their students to be questionnaires, to be curious, risk-taking, wondering learners who are thirsty to find out, critique and explore the world.
Is that right? Do you really feel your children want that? They all want to be curious. We know they all want to be curious. They want to take risks in learning, because no child would really appreciate in the end, all the question and answers we might provide to them in the class. But at the end of the day, we would always want our children to be curious. We would always like them to take risks and to learn more something on their own and to add to what we are teaching them. That's how we become, true teachers, true facilitators, true guides to them, and that is the kind of people we want to create. That is the kind of classes we want to create. That is the kind of children we want to create. And that is the kind of future we want to create for them. So what are the kind of questions we can have? We can have the kind of true and false, like I talked about, the funnel questioning. You can have concept walks. You can just be very, very experimental with your questioning. You can analyze, record ideas. You can tell them, concept sorts. These are the kind of strategies which you can use in your classrooms. Okay, but they can be closed-ended, like a true or a false. concept works, ideas related to series of words. You can show them images. You can like history. You show them the artifacts. Which civilization does it belong to? Why was this so particular? Why was this bronze statue there? Why was this iron statue there? Because that is that. Why was the fire? Why do you see fire here? What do you see? So all those pictures will somehow or the other, induce the Taj Mahal. You're taking them. If you're taking them for field trips and all, then you can just show them the direct artifacts and ask them about the marble which is used, about the times of the architecture which is used. So all these things come into your questioning. Unknowingly you will be using better question stems in your classes. So then there is a concept hierarchy. You can relate one concept to the other and lead to the answer which you want the child to. And the child knows the importance of relationship between one thing and the other. And you can have a concept wall, ongoing space in the class. You can have a board corner left for the children where they can just put in their questions. Sometimes you don't need to answer the question. Sometimes children just need to learn to make questions, ask questions with each other, and it becomes a dynamic class. It becomes a learning class. It becomes an open-ended class. It becomes a 21st century class. So concept question, then we have concept question, concept wall, then we have research support when you can tell the children where to find, where to research, and how to look for, what are the keywords you have to look for. So all these comes in your questioning techniques. Let me move forward. I hope till now I'm all right, going all right with you people. So, okay, so we have a video
ma'am,
here.
I have a question like,
Yes, ma'am, sure.
why will case studies and assertion, like it will come in what content? Case studies and assertion. Like it is only to gain a marks or
No,
can you
ma'am,
explain?
it is actually to see their critical thinking and how they can relate concepts and think more about them. Don't you think even if you come to an assertion and a reasoning question, don't you even sit down and read that question twice? You will always read it twice. You will never get the answer in one go. And I think most of us, I think 100%, 99% of us always go back and look at that question again. Otherwise, most of us, what do? We just look at a question and give the answer. Oh no, I know the answer. I know the answer. But when you have to relate it to something else, when it have to be, you have to reflect upon a question, it increases your thinking, and it also increases your critical, connectivity of the subject to the reasoning which has been given to you. So these reasoning and assertions, we as teachers are here to challenge the assertions which our children already have. We have to create that challenge. And these questions are those challenging level questions which we have to give them. And these are a part of our 21st century skills. Is that clear, ma'am? Is the question answer clear to you? Was I able to answer?
Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. Let's see this video.
In this presentation, we'll be discussing various strategies to effectively use questioning techniques to drive instruction and enhance learning. Let's look at the question of why should educators ask questions in the first place? First off, asking questions is a great way to get students engaged. Asking open questions can lead to fun and engaging classroom discussion. When teachers ask content-related questions, it gives the teacher an idea of where to take the lesson. Should the class move forward to the next topic? Should the teacher do a reteach of the lesson? If educators ask their students the right questions, such as critical thinking questions, students will begin to analyze, create, and evaluate information from the lesson. And most commonly, classroom questions are needed as formative assessments, where teachers may ask their students to rate their understanding of a topic on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 meaning mastery. And next, we'll take a look at how to ask a question. When asking student questions, educators should be cognizant of the degree of cognitive rigor. Think Bloom's taxonomy and Webb's depth of knowledge. Use high-order thinking questions such as evaluation as opposed to simply remembering information. One mistake that teachers make is they don't pause after asking a question. The pause provides wait time necessary for students to process information. Teachers should not answer their own question before the student has a chance. Another strategy is to ask the question to the entire class instead of just one particular student. If a teacher says, Anthony, what were the causes of World War II? Other students not named Anthony don't have to pay attention anymore because they know the question was not for them. You want all the students to think that they may be called upon. Next, we'll explore the different types of classroom questions. The first type of question we'll look at is a managerial question. Managerial questions include asking leading questions such as, what plants would you find in a desert? Why would you find plants there? The next type of question is a rhetorical question, which are used by teachers to emphasize a point. Rhetorical questions should get students to critically think and globally examine the question. Rhetorical questions often have more than one right answer. Another type of question is an open question. Open questions are used to create discussions. Closed questions, on the other hand, usually receive short one-word answers. They're basically used to check for retention and memory. Now, onto the last section, which are some teacher tips for questioning students. In order to keep students on their toes, randomly select students to answer questions. You can write all their names on cards and then randomly select cards from the deck. Some students are just very shy to speak up in front of the class. In that case, educators should utilize online technology to help encourage participation. Online discussions are now becoming the norm in schools today. It is recommended to follow up original questions asked with probing questions, then challenge the students by following up with an additional challenging question. And lastly, just remember that some students receive more attention than the rest of the class. Be sure to ask as many different students as you can, but also be cognizant of those students with severe anxiety. You may not want to put them on the spot.
Okay, so I hope it was ready. I also have this technique of using ice cream sticks, writing the roll numbers on the ice cream sticks, and randomly picking up an ice cream stick and calling out the roll number, and that roll number has to answer. So everybody is on their toes, that ma'am can pick up any stick and ask any child to answer. So you might be having your own tricks, and you can share them with me. You can put them in the chat if you have any other trick. So it's very important for a teacher is to foster a culture of questioning in the classroom. And every day when you enter your classroom, make sure that you have a set of questions which has been pre-prepared. All of you are preparing wonderful lesson plans, etc. And I think part of the lesson plan is to create a very nice question. A question bank for every chapter should be there with you, where you have a hierarchy of questions which goes with you inside the classroom, because there can be no questioning in the class which is random. No question should come from you which should be a random question. Every question should it should move on to create curiosity in the child. So your questioning in the classroom should foster, it should model curiosity. You have to demonstrate how you are going to provoke things, how you're going to model questions across the day so that the child is provoked into thinking and moving on to the higher level in the Bloom's taxonomy. Value each student, like they've said, listen to your student. What are they answering? Pay attention to it. And applaud the student if they are good, and if they are not good, never applaud a wrong question, a wrong answer, and never lead on a student to think, oh, they answered very well. If the answer is not right, do modulate in such a way, tell in such a way, so that the child knows that where he has made a mistake, but always encourage them to become better. Every single small part which they have said is good, please appreciate them. Okay, so you should value your student questions. And like they said, if there are students who are challenged, make sure you are empathetic towards them. You are not pushing them and shouting, and no, you have not done this, you have not answered. But I know all of us are not doing that these days, and it's really nice. Effective questioning techniques, like I said, you should have a question with you, a list of questions which you are going to apply in your question rooms, and plan learning experience in such a way. We all are designing wonderful lesson plans. I've seen Ravi sir, tell us, giving us these sessions on lesson plans and how questioning should be. So I think we should already plan them and put them in our lesson plan. What we used to do in our one of our sessions is we used to put a extra sheet of paper with questions in between the lesson plan, so that I know that usually there is not enough space in the lesson plan to add them. So we would add a page extra with the questions, with the stems sometimes, so that we could, initiate them in the class and ask them to the class, to the children. So you might be having your own way of strategy of remembering and moving ahead with this. And I just hope all of you will follow this, of putting these questions forward, carrying them ahead. So strategic questioning, you need to do before you enter that classroom is align questions with your learning objectives, which you have already done in your lesson plans. And like we already said that all of you are already doing it. You are introducing your chapter. You're using the hook in your class with introducing a new question, already checking the previous knowledge. And you're also encourage your students to generate questions. You can use a strategy in which you are telling them to read a certain section and come back with questions, which will be discussed in the classroom, which they will discuss with the other group. So you can make groups and tell them to study bits of bits of sections and come up with questions, like 3 to 4 questions, which we can discuss and do it in the classroom later. So you can incorporate these questioning techniques into your assessments also. So we have to move on from the basic level of questioning to higher levels of questioning. So this we've already done. As teachers, we know that we all are committed to fostering student curiosity, because we all are teachers, because we want that curiosity should remain in the world. As long as we want to be teachers, we want to create our curiosity with the wonder of learning with our students. And it is our job to ensure that we are providing those opportunity for our students, and we are providing the answers which they have to all the questions. And we have to teach them to move from the basic level of questions to higher level of questions. So the power of provocation. Yes, ma'am.
Very nicely, then the outcome will be very, fruitful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Harpreet, ma'am. That's so nice of you. So the power of provocation has to be realized by every teacher. You have to be like this bulb in between. You have to illuminate, you have to radiate, you have to intensify, highlight dreams, heat up prior knowledge. They have to understand, oh, that was not enough what we knew. Spark their curiosities, let them go back home, find more, go to the libraries, give them books, give them topics, give them authors, let them, find time to write them, live in their lives with the topics which you are teaching, brighten their interests and switch on wonders, and you'll be having all these, all the scientists inside your inside your classrooms. They will be like evolving like these light bulbs and all. So to have, okay, so case study, I would like somebody to read it. Upasna ma'am, can you read it? Or Tanuja ma'am, any one of you, please. Harpreet ma'am, can you read it? I think Tanuja ma'am and Upasna ma'am are having some problem, please.
Oh, yeah, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson, a fifth grade teacher, wanted to improve her questions, critical thinking skills. She began using open-ended and probing questions in her lesson. For example, instead of asking what is the capital of France, she asked, what do you think is the significance of the capital city in a country's history? As a result, Mrs. Johnson noticed a significant increase in students' engagement and participation. Students began to think more critical and provide more detailed answers. The class discussions became more lively and interactive, with students building on each other's ideas.
Okay, excellent. So does anybody have to, do you see a difference in the change in the classroom with the change in the question? Do you, Punita ma'am? Malini ma'am, I would like you people also to participate somehow. Shalini ma'am. Okay, so yes, with changing the question, she saw a change in the increase in the student engagement in class. All right. So what other types of questions do you think Mrs. Johnson used to achieve this outcome? What do you think? What other questions can she ask? And what other questions would you suggest Mrs. Johnson to achieve a better outcomes? Would anybody like to unmute themselves and give us a...
Ma'am, I'm really sorry, but my machine is dying. Could you just tell me? I was busy with that laptop.
Okay, ma'am. Here we have Mrs.
Pushpalata ma'am, we
Yes,
are
sir.
running
Okay.
late. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I will move forward with this. Then maybe sir can share with this with you at a later time. Okay. So what we want to tell here is that by moving on these questions, excuse me, just a minute. What I want to tell you here is that by putting open-ended questions by what do you think, how does this relate to, probing questions, can you elaborate on, what evidence do you have? These are the kinds of stems which Miss Johnson could have used and created a better classroom and a better learning and better engagement in a class. All right. So these are the kind of question stems I was looking for when I was talking to you about. All right. So I'll quickly move forward. So this is my last slide, sir. In conclusion, the important thing is not to stop question. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. This is a famous quote given by Albert Einstein. And what it means is that by using a range of questioning techniques, we can encourage critical thinking, foster collaboration, and promote active learning in our classes. And this is what the aim is of our 21st century. And thank you so much for being with me and participating actively. Ravi sir is heading. Thank you so much, and I'm really indebted to you for giving me such a beautiful topic and giving me a chance to speak over it. I will hand over the stage to sir, and he will move forward from here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much, Pushpalata ma'am. It was indeed a very wonderful session, and we were able to see that many participants have joined because like it is a point or it's a session which is need of the hour. Okay, questioning only gives good sharpens the minds of the students, isn't it?
Yes.
That's how it is. So the people who would wish to grab a certificate for this particular session can send 50 rupees to the number 9908925730. I have written in the chat box. You can do either Google Pay, Phone Pay, or what do we say, Paytm, and kindly send a screenshot of your payment to the same number through WhatsApp. Okay, and by tomorrow, which means within 24 hours, you will be getting your certificate. Maximum by tomorrow morning you should get. In worst cases, if the IT person is busy, you will be getting it within 24 hours. So that's how it is. We believe that you all enjoyed the session. We are also looking forward you all in the upcoming session as well. And before we leave, I would like to really appreciate Mrs. Pushpalata Chaudhary, who has come up with such a very, such a topic wherein, like it is, as I said earlier, it's the need of the hour. Especially in high school, only if we do strategic questioning, children will come up with their ideas. Yes. So that's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
you,
ma'am.
everyone.
It was really, just the way you said, it triggered. Like, probably we all practice everything in the classroom, but then yes, the questions have triggered. What can I do better? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you for your feedback. Thank you, Shilpi
Hands
ma'am.
are motivated. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Harpreet ma'am. Thank you so much.